Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Take a second to subscribe if you want to get the latest videos. Today's video is about prepping and glittering an acrylic blank, and the first method will be to mix our glitter in with our bright tone. So let's do this. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is peel off the paper backing on just the one side you're working with to start. You want to leave the backing on the back side to protect it from anything that you've got going on. So then you're going to take your sandpaper. I'm using 400 grit, and I'm just going to lightly scuff it, like just barely, to give my base coat something to adhere to. You can use whatever grit you want, but the higher is good if you're doing a two-sided keychain, so keep that in mind depending on your project. So then I'm using a lint-free wipe to clear off any debris from the sanding. These acrylics are from Zindi and Wood Elf Crafting, and I'm going to be using them as badge reels and straw toppers, so they're only going to be one-sided. So I'm going to base coat it with these Crystalac pigments in my universal white. So that's number 2 and 5, red and blue to, make purple. I'm trying to match the purple glitter right here called Calliope from Painted Valley Designs. So I'm just using a medicine cup, and I'm going to just straight up wing it. So I'm going to pour in this universal white, and then I'm going to pour in a little of the red and the blue. Just be careful, because when you open it, it's messy, right? You could see it's all over my finger. I learned that, and I got it on a few other projects, so be careful. Don't wipe your fingers on anything, and I wouldn't keep anything close by. Then I'm just going to stir this really good and hope for the best here. Like I said, I'm just winging it. I don't use the pigments that often because it's like kind of a lot of work to find the right color. And I have approximately 5 seconds to craft while my kids are sleeping. So I'm trying to match this purple glitter. And I think I did a pretty good job. So I'm just using like a cheapo paintbrush to apply this to my blank. Now obviously the better brush you use, the better it's going to look. You could also even use your finger. But since this is just a base and I'm glittering over it, I don't really care what it looks like, to be honest. And then you can recoat in 2 to 4 hours. That's what the bottle says. So I will probably do a second coat because I have enough of this paint. But you might feel like you don't need it. You can decide. So once the paint is on, you can decide how long or how you want to put on your glitter. So you can use extreme protection, bright tone, or even Mod Podge. To get the look that you want. So for this particular one, I'm going to use bright tone, and I'm going to use this little reusable silicone cup. I like to use reusable whenever possible. You could use a medicine cup too. So I pour a little in, and then I'm going to drop my glitter in the same cup and mix them together. You want to stir just very gently, and then you sort of have to play around with the thickness, but you just put a little on and move it towards the sides. So I like mixing in with the BT because 1, it's less messy, way less messy. 2, it's very easy, and 3, I don't actually have to seal after I put on my glitter, with the E6000 or Mod Podge or spray paint or spray clear coat, whatever you want. You don't have to do that. One of the downfalls is that it's hard for bubbles to escape when there's glitter inside. So sometimes you'll have like a hole where a bubble popped and the glitter didn't like move. So if you have a base color, the same coat, it usually doesn't matter. But sometimes if you're just doing glitter without a base, you may have to do a second coat. So you may have to do this twice on the same blank. If you're like doing a keychain and you want the glitter to show through both sides, you wouldn't base coat it. You don't have to base coat it. I just choose to anytime I'm doing a reel or a straw topper when the back doesn't matter. So once you get your glitter on, you just let it dry for about 4 hours, and then you can go over it with a few coats of just Brite Tone till it is smooth. Then you can add vinyl. Then you can do a few more coats. Remember, drying at least 4 hours in between and sanding every couple layers. The next method is to just use your acrylic paint to base and apply your glitter. So I'm using an acrylic paint to match that opal pink from Sass & Crafts. The one good thing about acrylic paint is that you don't have to play around with matching a color. Like, I literally took a few glitters to Michael's and found acrylic paints that match it exactly. Like, that's so easy, and they're super cheap, so that's nice. For this one, I'm still using a cheapo brush because I literally can't find anything in my craft space. Maybe some of you are like me. So I'll for sure need 2 coats on this one just because I just have a bad brush going on. I actually find you can use your finger as well, and that gives very good coverage. So if you're up for using your finger, go for it. So once you get the paint on, let this first coat get good and dry. And then I'm trying to make it as flat as possible because you don't really want streaks, because the flatter your paint is, the flatter your glitter is going to lay. So just take your time and then let your first coat dry completely before you come in and do a second coat. So once that's dry, put a good amount on for your second coat and then make it as flat as you can, like as even as possible, with your brush or your finger, whatever you find works best for you. And then while the paint is wet, you're going to pour on your glitter. Again, this is Opal Pink from Sass & Crafts. It's so pretty. Highly recommend it. So you're going to pour a generous amount of your glitter on. And I use my finger to press it down flat right away. And I kind of, gets it into the paint so it'll dry on there a little bit better. And let this dry fully for a couple hours, like an hour maybe. And then once it's dry, come back and spray E6000 right onto your blank. Just put a good amount on. I'm not worried about what it looks like. And then leave it be for about 30 minutes. You want it to start drying. And after 30 minutes, you're going to flatten with a piece of like parchment paper or wax paper or something. But you want it to be good and dry, like on its way to being dry before you actually do that. And then wait an hour, and then you can start sealing. Next method is using Brite Tone as an adhesive. Okay, so I have this blank base coated with some acrylic paint, and then you're gonna pour like the teeny tiniest little amount onto your blank, and I just use my finger to spread it out. You can use a brush or whatever you want. I don't really like touching chemicals when I don't have to, but I really find that using my bare finger works best with the blanks. But you could use a gloved finger if you want as well. So push it all around to the sides, and then I'm gonna let it sit for a few minutes. and let it self-level, right? The more level it is, the better your glitter is going to look. So just kind of leave it be for a few minutes, and then it will be ready for you to glitter. So this blank is going to be a little Grinch with a Christmas hat. So this autumn yellow green and this green foliage, I think it's called, from Craft Smart, the glitters from Sass & Crafts, is going to be the perfect green for this project. So once it's self-leveled after about, 10 minutes or so, you can sprinkle your glitter. And just like before, you're going to use your finger to sort of press the glitter down and get it nice and flat. And then you're going to let this dry for about 4 hours before you come back to it. So after 4 hours, I take just something like a paintbrush or a silicone brush and tap the back excess glitter. And then the coverage still looks really good, so I don't need another coat. I'm going to use my E6000 to spray all over my blank. I'm going to let that dry completely, like an hour or so. Then I'm going to spray again and maybe a third time, just to sort of seal the glitter in and minimize the amount of coats I have to do later on. The last method is just to use Mod Podge to apply your glitter. I'm not actually going to do it. It's like sort of the same exact process. Just make sure it's super dry before you start sealing. So in order to seal, you're just going to drop a teeny tiny amount of Brite Tone right on your blank. And then I use my finger to spread it. You just need like the thinnest little layer. Get it all the way to the edges. And let it dry for 4 hours at least before you move on to the next layer. So it's super easy to cover these. And once you get them fully smooth, that's when you can add vinyl. So all of those methods have, pros and cons. So you sort of should play around and see which one you prefer to do, and decide, which pros outweigh the cons for you personally. They all look good. They all work great. So you just have to sort of play around with it and get the feel and do what's going to be best for you and your practice or business or whatever it is for your friends. And just get in there and make it happen. So if you end up getting it smooth, putting vinyl on, you do the exact same thing. So here, this is some vinyl. You just spread it around with your finger, and you just do enough coats in order for it to be smooth. So that's it. Let me know if you have questions down below. I hope you enjoyed the video.